Um, when we launched, so Social Progress Imperative has its 5th birthday in the middle of May. And it's now 4 years since we launched the first beta version of the Social Progress Index. And very early on in that process, we were joined as a partner by the government of Paraguay in South America. And Paraguay has really been the country that has pioneered and driven the use and implementation of Social Progress Index in policymaking. So I'm absolutely thrilled that today joining us for a discussion is the Minister of Planning of Paraguay, José Molinas. José, please join us. Thank you. Hey,
hi, Michael.
Welcome. So, José, maybe a place to start is, tell us a little bit about Paraguay. What do we need to know about Paraguay to understand the context?
Okay, Paraguay is a country in the middle of South America. We are a relatively young democracy. Until 1989, we were living under probably the longest dictatorship in South America. Since '89, we have increasingly more participatory democracy. In the last 10 years, we were growing the economy at 5% per year. Poverty has been stagnant. Extreme poverty has been stagnant from 1997 to 2011. But after that, from 2011 to 2015, we have reduced extreme poverty by 46% in those 5 years.
Wow.
And as you mentioned, Social Progress Index is a important thing in Paraguay. And in relation to the Social Progress Index, our first measure in 2013 was a score of 49, but the score in 2015, 2 years later, was 67 points. So it was a big jump in those two years. Paraguay is a country where 40% of the population live in the rural area. 80% of the country speaks indigenous language, Guarani, and only less than 2% are indigenous, the indigenous population. So we are bilingual countries. We speak Spanish and in Guarani, and this is a unique cultural feature of the country.
Thank you very much. So there's been this sort of inclusive growth challenge for Paraguay that Paraguay is now gripping. And so that was the reason why the political leadership in Paraguay chose to integrate Social Progress Index into the national plan.
Exactly. So when the Social Progress Imperative contacted the previous administration, that was very well received, because at that moment we were with a stagnant process of poverty reduction, despite an accelerating growth. Growth has been by 5%. So the previous administration issued a decree adopting the Social Progress Index as an official measure for monitoring progress, and created a committee that have the term of reference to support the implementation. And when the current administration started, we were benefiting from an early visit of Professor Michael Porter to present the Social Progress Index and the Social Progress Imperative. And we thought that was great already that the country has committed to use that. And we start strengthening the ways of how to connect the social progress framework with public policy in the country.
I mean, this is one of the extraordinary things, it's the commitment to Social Progress Index survived a political transition. It was the outgoing president who committed, and then the incoming president kept and adopted it. And I think in a year's time, there'll be another presidential election, so there'll be a transition coming up. Can I just ask, your background is in the World Bank, and so you've got extensive global experience. What was it about Social Progress Index that you saw as being powerful, as being a tool for the national plan?
The main thing is that the Social Progress Index and the Social Progress Framework is a very simple and very compelling agenda to talk about basic human needs, foundation of well-being, and opportunity, connect the more pressing social necessities related to the basic human needs, but also is connected to every citizen in the country to reach the full potential through the opportunity. And it's very compelling and easy to communicate. And it's a needed complement to GDP. We were experiencing that the feeling of having an accelerating economic growth, but with social stagnation. That was the feeling when we couldn't move the extreme poverty index for 14 years. So I think that was quite useful, and also gives some concrete measure to focus on and to catalyze action around the set of goals.
Well, I'm looking for a job as Paraguay's roving global ambassador, because whenever I go and present anywhere, I always say Paraguay has been the first country in the world with a national plan that has a GDP target and a social progress target. But I was reflecting on the famous quote from Dwight Eisenhower, that plans are useless, planning is everything. So it's all about the execution. So this is what you've been doing. And I think this is what people want to hear about really is, how have you then driven these targets from a paper plan into execution through the budgetary process, through the line ministries?
Excellent question. So let me tell you a little bit how it started under this administration. We have the commitment for using the SPI, and we have a group of very committed people to try to promote it. And the first step was to come up with a country vision to the year 2030, to come up also with an agreed strategies and common set of goals from the country as a whole that could survive different administrations. So we invested heavily in a participatory process for 13 months. We started in November 2013, and we end up the process of the National Development Plan in December of next year, of 2014, even before the summit for the social development goals. So during those 13 months, everybody was consulted, political parties, social sectors, economic sectors, different levels of governments. So it was a vision of transformation from the country, a transformation from resource-based economy towards a more knowledge-based economy, to an aspiration of being one of the most inclusive countries in South America, and also with a state that is efficient, transparent, and that promote equal opportunity. That was the agreed upon vision. Then there has been defined 12 strategies and 72 goals that catalyze action. So that was the first step. And the Social Progress Index offered the framework. So since the first workshop that was facilitated by Roberto Artavia in November 2013, the Social Progress Index was present there. And from the 72 goals from the National Development Plan, 39 comes pretty much directly from the Social Progress framework. So having an agreed upon vision of the country, an agreed upon set of strategies and common goals helps a lot. So by next year, people at the government, we were saying, if we have a national development plan, which is mandatory for us, for the government, we should align the national budget to this plan. So we started with 90 public institutions, 90 out of 104. And we're asking to define their outputs as institutions and how those will be related to the goals that was at the National Development Plan and that was consistent with the SPI. And once they define what they will produce, what will be the output that they will deliver to citizens, and how those outputs connect to the goals, we start the costing of those actions. So now we can trace each unitary measure unit from the budget to outputs produced by different institutions to the contribution to the goals. this is good for communicating, for being accountable for the budget, but it's also good for monitoring purposes. We can monitor what the institutions commit to deliver by time during the year, by regions within the country, with the actual performance. So we have a scorecard that is also could be read as a scorecard for the social progress actions that we publicize every month. And we give different colors according to the consistency of the delivery, according to what was planned. So that was another important element of the connection of the plan with the budget, with the monitoring system, and also for engaging key stakeholders in society. So since our plan is to the year 2030, and this administration is only to next year, so we created a council that have the term of reference to promote the implementation of the plan, comprised by key stakeholders from the productive sector, from the economic sector, from the social sector, and from academia. And those are leaders who will keep being leaders after the end of this administration, and that is our best bet for continuity on this framework. So. Plan, budget, articulation of key stakeholders at the national level was also taking the same approach at the subnational level, at the department, which is pretty much the state level, and the municipal level. We did a similar process. We engaged key stakeholders at the local level to create plans to align with their budget, and to create also local council to promote actions towards our national goals, which are consistent with the social progress framework goals.
I mean, sometimes goals can sound very sort of abstract and dry. I know one of the goals of the national plan, I think, has been eliminating child malnutrition by 2018, I think. And when I speak about SPI, I always say, if we've played any part in helping ensure that no child goes to bed hungry, that's something we're very proud of. And this is what this really means. This isn't just about numbers and plans. This is about real improvement in lives. I wanted to highlight two things that I think you told us about just now. One was about this participatory approach. I think we hear that across with all the different projects we're running, that participation, that tool for engagement is really powerful. But also the other thing I think you really mentioned I want to highlight is the way that the social progress goals fit with the economic goals of the national plan. It's not there's a tension, there's one path economic, one social. The way you're thinking about the transition to the knowledge economy, all those, and the inclusive economic model, that's linked. Social progress is a supporter in that. And I think one thing we've talked about we need to do is do more to kind of document this case study. Now, I wanted, for one final question before we go to the audience, I want to talk about is how you've now taken this further, and now you're looking at local social progress indices. And also you were telling me yesterday you're now thinking about quarterly social progress reporting. Tell us about those innovations.
Yeah. One of the constraints that we were facing from the government standpoint is that the global social progress index, since they use harmonized data, it comes with data which is with some lags, 2 to 3 years. And for an administration that lasts only 5 years, that's is a lot. So we were looking for ways that allows us to report the results closer to the action. For just to take a parallel with economic sector, we know GDP after a few months. That after December, we know GDP by March. The GDP from the previous year. So, but for the social progress index, probably in 2017, we will know the global one with data from 2014. So that was a problem. So we were start working with the objective of how we could have in 2017 a social progress that is consistent with the global figures, but that use data from 2016. So we started working for more than a year and a half, And we have a very consistent measure now that use 70% of the data come from household survey, 30% come from administrative records, and allows us to report in 2017 the social progress from the previous year. And since the administrative record is a continuous process, and now we're moving our household survey, instead of taking only once a year, to be a continuous, we will be able to report the social progress at the national level without data quarterly. And since the household survey is representative at the state level, at the department level, we can also have a disaggregated to departments. And that will feel closer to people's, to citizens' reality in their locations.
It's a fascinating like that. Getting real-time measurement for policy and accountability is a really, really big challenge. Look, let's go to the audience. Who's got a question for Jose? Please, Guillermo.
It's a little bit of a comment, if you allow me, but because, and very subjective, and sorry for this to the whole audience, but this is a historical moment, absolutely historical moment. I was a negotiator for Uruguay of one of the most biggest dreams we had in our region, Mercosur, 1991, to have a common market, a little bit resembling the European Union, between Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And Paraguay was a kind of the smallest, the youngest democracy, the biggest democratic deficits, social backwardness, economically speaking, the small guys. Today here, Latin Americans and Mercosurians are learning from Paraguay. And among other things, this is thanks to social progress initiatives. So the comment is the following. Number one, congratulations, Paraguay. We have a lot to learn. Number two, we have here representatives not only of countries, but provinces. And we have been talking about the granular level, how to bring SPI below the national level. What we are discovering here is that perhaps SPI could also help looking supranational level and really bringing the foundations for metrics, good metrics, for regional integration as we didn't have in the past. We talked, we negotiated about macroeconomic coordination. We talked about eliminating tariffs and non-tariff measures among our countries. But this is what is going to bring regional integration, particularly encouraging for somebody who has negotiated this for decades. And we see now the reality of Salta, northwest of Argentina, thinking along with Paraguay, thinking on common projects. When we hear about Peru bringing projects down to departments, when we hear the Amazonian region, this is what would link us together. And this is another dimension of SPI, Mr. Ambassador, that perhaps we have not thought of. Not only going down the sub-national level, but going up the real regional integration. So congratulations and a big applause for Paraguay.
Exactly.
Thank you, Guillermo.
Thank you. Is there any comment you'd like to make, Jose?
I think the SPI opened many doors for communicating with the private sector, with the civil society, with different level of government. Now, I agree with Guillermo that could also open a way to coordinate policies and measurement of well-being at the supranational level. And I just want to congratulate the community who is pursuing this effort and the cross-fertilization that the social progress imperative offers, which is very good to identify good practices, to start incorporating, and this community of practice that is taking place will help us to go even further in the future.
Look, our time is up. Can I say, Guillermo, you're absolutely right. Certainly, I had never thought of the idea of doing it at regional level. So, as usual, all the best ideas come from the network. So, thank you. Jose, you're going to be around for the rest of the conference?
Yes.
Because I know that a lot of people want to talk to you about the real practicalities of how to make this happen. Thank you for the pioneering work you're doing and for sharing your wisdom with us. Jose Molina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.